What's up, Mythgardians? Leap Daniel here. So there's a winter holiday event, and in my opinion it's quite fun, but it's also a little difficult because there's a quest to go along with it. So I figured I'd help my subscribers out by showing you a deck that I've had a lot of success with so far. And it's time sensitive since the event only runs until January 10th, so I figured I better get this video out soon. So first I'll give you a rundown of the rules of the event, then I'll show you my deck list and describe to you how it works, and then we'll watch a few replays together. So the event is based around penguins. You can see on the screen each faction has its own penguin. They are either 2 mana 2/2s or 3 mana 3/3s. They all add a spell to your hand and give penguins a bonus ability. For each unique faction that appears in your deck, 4 copies of the associated penguin will be added when you play in 2v2 mode. So on the one hand, your deck is getting bigger and containing more colors, which makes it less consistent. But on the other, these penguins have strong synergies with each other, and you have a quest to play a bunch of them, so there's an incentive to run as many as possible. Balancing these two competing incentives, I chose to play a tricolor deck. To my mind, the orange angel penguin, Hepzibah, is the strongest, as it lets you and your ally gain additional copies of penguins. So here's my deck. I call it March of the Penguins because you end up with some powerful plays with marching orders. You'll notice looking at my curve that I run a lot of 1-mana cards. That makes the deck seem more aggressive than it really is. It's still aggressive, especially for a 2v2 deck where life totals are higher, but the penguins kind of round out that curve a bit as they all cost 2 or 3. The idea here is that penguins, especially mirrored penguins, generate a lot of spells, which can be used to feed media autocam or damage your opponent with Mothmara. You secure the board quickly to protect your Hepzibah. Miss Agata, the green penguin, gives it warded, and marching orders can easily dodge any blockers, so your board proves to be surprisingly resilient. My third color is a splash of yellow. Corrode Equipment is a nice removal tool, Clay Effigy is good cycling, and Doper is a strong early board presence. But this color is not essential. You could experiment and try replacing it with something else. Red maybe, for that Vulcan brand burn. As a bonus, you can see that my deck doesn't have any mythics. So it's also a fairly budget option for this event. I didn't even intend for that to happen. It just worked out that all the best cards for what I wanted to do were common, uncommon, and rare. Anyway, I have some matches to show you, including one at the end against 2 champion players. So this first match is one where you'll really see the aggro potential of the deck shine, I think. I've actually never had a 2v2 match which was this fast. So I've got a ton of 1-drops. I start with Doper because Mothmara, even though it costs 1, is not the best to have at the beginning. You really want that to get that last burn push with it. I'd really like to get out Hepzibah, but I don't have any orange to burn. If you look at my opponent or my ally's hand, they actually have all the same colors as me, even though they're playing what looks to be a somewhat different deck. So that's kind of nice maybe. They might get out a Hepzibah, which I can piggyback off of. So I do play Mothmara just because I don't have anything else good to play. Next turn, hopefully I'll get out Miss Agata, and I can get it mirrored with their Hepzibah. So I boost the attack of my Doper to really push for damage. And here you'll notice waiting for my opponent to play this paid off because I might have traded here, but this way the Hepzibah penguin survives because it got boosted by Ixolotli. So that's one of the issues with 2v2. I've never shown a 2v2 game before. Sometimes you misplay because you don't wait for your opponent, so be sure to wait. So here I give corrode equipment to his purple penguin because it has armor, so this way I can kill it pretty quickly. And there I made a minor misplay by not waiting, right? Because he played another Ixolotli, and I attacked with this before he played it. So that's something to watch out for. And here it might be hard to see because our opponents have so much life, but we actually have lethal because I have 2 marching orders. So you can see why I named the deck after marching orders. In 2v2 you get so many opportunities to... There's 4 different boards, so you can do a lot with marching orders. And Mythgard makes new copies. So it's a good thing my opponent waited for me, or excuse me, it's a good thing my ally waited for me there, because if they hadn't, they might have traded and lost our lethal. So that was a pretty good match. Very, very fast for a 2v2 match. I don't think I've ever had a 2v2 match that fast that wasn't just someone conceding. So in this match we have 1 champion. I'm going to show you another with 2 champions later. But Kamehameha you can see is a champion. And I think this match, I use marching orders a lot, so I think you'll get to see it used to its full potential here. I start out with a grinning Kolobok, just to try and get some mana ramp. So I don't really have anything on curve I can play, so I just play Doper. Temptation is the only 2 orange gem card in this deck. Yeah, I don't find myself using it that often. So there I burned it. You might want to swap it for something else. It hasn't performed too well. So that Fragile helped me trade with the Mythgard. And now I've got a bunch of greens in hand. And my opponent used marching orders on me, which was perhaps not smart because it triggered my Kolobok during their turn. No, were they running that in their deck? No, that was generated from Mythgard. So, but because I have Mythgard, I burned the marching orders because I already have 2 Mythgard. So I play a Doper, and I don't play the Mythgard. I play the Academy Recruitment, which was maybe a weird move. I think that might have been a misplay because my opponent on the other side, if I had looked at their hand, they have a compulsory curse from the Junho penguin, which can target these pretty well. can just kind of pick them off. But the issue with academy recruitment is um, you need room for it, and if your board starts to get too full, you just won't be able to play it, and it'll be a dead card in hand. So I think that's why I felt like I had to play it. And also, I like to wait until there's a Hepzibah on board to play my other penguins. And fortunately, now I have that opportunity. So I play it safe, far from the blue penguin. And then I play Miss Agata. Even though she has better stats, I'm willing to trade her more than I'm willing to trade the orange, because the orange has such a good effect. So my opponent draws. And that Vulcan brand steam bun combo is really cool. I think that would be an interesting thing to experiment with in this penguin meta as well. So I use marching orders here in a really cool way to move my Shadavar Beast. So I'm moving the fragile effect from it to make better trades. And I still have marching orders in my hand and two more Misagatas, which will generate two more marching orders. So I can really move wherever I want. And I can move my opponents wherever I want too. So it's a pretty nice deck, I think. So there, Kamehameha just bounced Tengu back to his hand, and it now costs 0 permanently. So that's something, I didn't notice it in the actual game until he used it in a combo, but he was setting up for a combo with Dashing Ringmaster. So that's something to be wary of. And here, I decide to just not deal with this Volkov Heavy, I think. Yeah, Miraculous Feast will at least heal up my Doper. And then my other two guys, I just don't do anything. Even if I did marching orders, they wouldn't get around it because my board is so full. So here comes that combo. So he's going to make a lot of trades. And he even bounces back Dashing Ringmaster, so there's no way it can be removed, so he can do the same combo next turn. So I use marching orders to get around the heavy. Now I forgot that he had Jaunt. His heavy can still trade with anything, but I didn't really realize that. It doesn't matter too much. I think I would have done the same play either way, but I try to block with Zealot tokens. It really doesn't matter. He could trade with something more substantial as well. And he has Thunderclap, so there go the tokens anyway. But now that Sapo is going to get taken down. And more besides. And he's going to want to take down everything in the middle too, in order to survive. But he left up my friend's Venom Fang Mutant, which is just enough. I move over my weakening Misagata, which has Blight, to take out his Dashing Ringmaster, and the Venom Fang Mutant trades with his 4/1. And now my board is still fairly full, and I can move around as I please. So my opponent is going to have to put up a lot of blockers, and I don't think they'll be able to put up enough. So they put up these three. And of course the warded prevents Magnetar from doing anything besides just being a chump blocker. And then I move his guys out of the way and use Ixolotli to boost my Misagata, but it doesn't even matter because my ally has Gigantomachia as well. And that's game. So I thought that was a pretty cool game. A lot of marching order uses in clever ways, like moving around fragile effects and things like that. Now this is the game where both my opponents are champions. If you see, Nomary is a champion, and Fevereau is also a champion. So my buddy is playing Turn of Seasons. This time my ally is on the left and I'm on the right. And now I have two Hepzibahs, so I can get a Hepzibah to mirror a Hepzibah. So I try to play it outside of the range of his Vulcan brand or anything, so that it's safe. It's a bit of a gamble, right? Because if he had Trapezist, he'd just kill it. But I think it paid off. He didn't even block it, which is crazy. Now here I make a minor misplay. I play Media Autocam and then trade with this guy which has Vulcan brand. So I should have played Media Autocam after trading, because then I would have had more durability on the Autocam. It would have had 9 instead of 6. So the opponent has up a lot of penguins, but they get taken out by that Thunderclap, which is nice. And I played Miraculous Feast because my Autocam was starting to die, so I wanted to get at least one draw from it. So I felt kind of urgent to play spells. And there was no urgency to play Hepzibah because this is an ephemeral copy. So he trades with one, but the other stays up. Now, I sort of make a funny move here. So I play my draw spell and then use Meteor Autocam to draw with not a moment to spare, only one durability left. And then I play Shadavar Beast, and my ally thinks it's a mistake. He thinks it's a misplay because killing Necromantic will revive Volcanic Risi from the Boneyard, and he really doesn't want to do that. But fortunately, I have an answer to it. I have corrode equipment in hand, so I'm not too worried about it. But he plays Vulcan Brand to trade, and my ally so disappointed in me. Like, oh, you let him summon Volcanic Risi. But I think it worked out. He plays Giant Stairway. And actually, next turn, my Angel Penguin will actually be bigger than his Volcanic Risi thanks to my partner's Giant Stairway. I hadn't planned for that. I was just planning on putting up chump blockers until it dies. But hey, that works out. I play Mothmara far from the Angel because I don't want it to get killed with the Compulsory Curse. But it gets killed by the Penguin. But at least it trades. Now this is a bit of a conundrum for me. Serapis has life tap and hefty amounts of health. So that's a bit difficult for me to deal with as a kind of aggro deck. But my opponent is actually running out of resources quite a bit. So I don't have to worry about it too much. And even though my life seems low, I have a plethora of miraculous feasts. So I'm probably going to be fine. And I just play Shadavar Beast, even though he can trade into it since he has Slayer from his partner's disc. I don't even worry about it. Now our opponent is using Hepzibah 2. I think Junho is probably the worst of the Penguins. I don't think Compulsory Curse is that good, and Swift isn't that good either. Especially when you can use Marching Orders or Jaunt anyway. So here, I probably didn't need to armor up because I would have fully healed with the Miraculous Feast anyway. But yeah. So Serapis is feeding my opponent life, and that Gigantomachia really took out a lot. And I was upset about that, but my friend is not fully blocked. So my ally comes in and gets in the last shot, I think. Oh, right. They use their Jaunt ability to get onto the stairway and deal 8 damage. Yeah, so that was very nice. So that's it. So I thought that was a really good game that really showcased the strengths of this deck. So to those of you who stuck around to the end of the video, I really like these penguins, and I hope you do too. I wanted to get this video out quick because the event is only available for a limited time until January 10th, I believe. That said, if you enjoyed it, why not give it a like and subscribe if you want more Mythgard content. Happy holiday event and happy holidays.